I want to share my very first prediction about what could go down in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 36. I genuinely believe that Boruto and Jura are about to run into some serious problems, the kind that are going to completely shift the balance of power. After everything that happened in Chapter 35, it's getting harder and harder to ignore Sasuke's influence on Hidari. Technically, yes, Hidari is a Shinju, but the manga has shown us time and time again that the emotions don't just disappear, they keep living on inside these tree beings. The best example of this is Matsuri. Her feelings for Konohamaru can't be explained by Ten Tails' logic alone. That's a direct reflection of Moegi's emotions. And if that principle holds true for Matsuri, why wouldn't it hold true for Hidari? Think about Sasuke's entire story. It was always built around love, loss, and deep emotional bonds. Tobirama once said that the Uchiha love harder than anyone else, and because of that, they also suffer more than anyone else. That's exactly why Hidari's behavior in these recent chapters has been so fascinating to me. He doesn't act like a soulless weapon. He asks questions. He analyzes emotions. He's shown far more interest in Sarada than a standard Shinju hunt would ever require. To me, that looks like the very beginning of an internal conflict. On one side, you have the Shinju instincts. On the other, you have Sasuke's emotional legacy. That's why my biggest prediction is this. Hidari is going to betray Jura somewhere down the line. Not because he suddenly becomes a good guy, not because he turns back into Sasuke, but because the emotions of the person he was created from are slowly starting to shape his decisions. But I do think Chapter 36 is going to give us some really clear early signs of that conflict building, and I think it's absolutely worth paying attention to in the next chapter. What makes this even more interesting is that Jura genuinely cares about Hidari. The greatest conflicts in Naruto history have always been rooted in personal connections. And I think the authors are already laying the groundwork for exactly that kind of conflict between Jura and Hidari right now. But let's talk about what's happening around that main storyline and what might end up pulling the trigger on it. Let's start with Kawaki. He's convinced he's using Amado for his own ends, but the last few chapters are telling a very different story. While Kawaki has been getting more dependent on this new power, he's already betrayed Boruto's trust and put Konoha in an even more dangerous position after deactivating Kashin Koji. And all of that is a result of chasing this phantom power, because every new modification Kawaki agrees to doesn't just make him stronger, it makes him more attached to the person handing out that power. Kawaki is slowly walking into a trap he hasn't even noticed yet, and if the pressure on him keeps building, it could be the exact push that accelerates the Hidari-Jura conflict, especially if Kawaki decides to directly interfere with the Shinju's territory. That leads into a bigger theory about Amado. While everyone's attention is focused on Jura, the Shinju, and the battles ahead, Amado has quietly stayed in the background. He rarely gets directly involved in Konoha's affairs. He's rarely at the center of events, but his influence touches almost every major storyline in the manga. I do think it's possible he has control mechanisms in place for his other cyborgs as well, though I want to be upfront that there's no direct confirmation of that in the text yet. That's pure speculation, based on how carefully calculated he is as a character. It's also worth talking about Kashin Koji separately, because his situation could directly affect how quickly the Hidari conflict plays out. But Koji knows too much thanks to Shinjutsu. He's witnessed countless possible futures, which makes him a genuine potential threat to Amado, so I wouldn't rule out an attempt to isolate Koji from the other players. And that's where my theory about Daikokuten comes in. That space is completely under Kawaki's control and makes any kind of rescue almost impossible. I'm not saying this definitely happens in Chapter 36, but I'd put the probability at around 70%. And of course, Boruto is still the heart of this entire story. Sarada trusts him, Code is still hunting them, Kawaki sees him as a threat, and Momoshiki is still living inside him. That's why I think Boruto could very well be the person who ultimately helps Hidari figure out which side he's really on. The price of that choice might be enormous, but honestly, that's what makes it so compelling. So my prediction for Chapter 36 is both simple and complex at the same time. As someone who's been reading this manga for 15 years, I think Hidari is going to start showing very strong signs of that internal conflict, the battle between his Shinju instincts and Sasuke's emotional legacy. I think in Chapter 36, he's going to want to see Sarada again. Meanwhile, Kawaki is going to fall even deeper under Amado's influence, and Kashin Koji could become the next piece that gets taken off the board if he refuses to play by Amado's rules. And that's exactly why Boruto and Jura are heading for real trouble, the kind that's going to force the balance of power to shift. And if this theory turns out to be right, the central conflict of 2 Blue Vortex might not really be about Jura at all.